Mr. Francis ADELOWO is a manager in the audit practice of KPMG Nigeria, where he serves within the Consumer and Industrial Markets Unit. He oversees audit engagements across key sectors, including FMCG, manufacturing, food and agro-allied, and international development agencies. In this capacity, he partners with senior stakeholders, leads cross-functional teams, and ensures the delivery of high-quality audit and assurance outcomes under demanding deadlines. He has successfully led complex audit assignments for some of Nigeria's most prominent companies, including the largest cement manufacturing entity in sub-Saharan Africa and the country's leading food and agro-allied group. His experience also spans the valuation of quoted and unquoted equities with a combined worth of up to $4 billion. With a track record of managing multidisciplinary teams ranging from 3 to 30 professionals, Francis is consistently recognized as a highly effective performer for his leadership, technical depth, and commitment to quality. He holds a first-class bachelor's degree in agriculture from the University of Ilorin and is a chartered accountant with the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria. He is a leader within the Christian Fellowship, a network of professionals mainly from Nigeria's Big Four accounting firms, promoting integrity, excellence, and faith-driven leadership in the corporate world. Distinguished guests, join me in welcoming Mr. Francis ADELOWO. Mr. AYOMIDE EBIETOMIYE is a data-driven human capital specialist with robust experience in compensation and benefits management, employee exit management, performance management, talent management, workforce development and analytics, career development, strategic human resource, manpower planning and employment and labor laws. He is well-versed in HR analytics, data analytics, business intelligence, product analytics, business process and improvements, banking and finance, strategy and innovations. He is currently the co-founder of the Purpose School, whose vision is to build capacity for an experiential life of impact, and the lead speaker at Dialectors, a platform where he shares wisdom and insights on how to navigate and integrate the Christian life into work, relationships, and communities. As a Christian blogger, he shares his thoughts, experiences, lessons, and principles as it pertains to the knowledge and understanding of God. Distinguished guests, join me in welcoming Mr. AYOMIDE EBIETOMIYE.
So today is a panel session with both speakers, and we're just going to spotlight them. I hope they can turn on their cameras. Mr. EBIETOMIYE, Mr. Francis. Let me search for you. Yes, and I am Fumi Samuel, your facilitator for this session. Maybe I start with a little fun fact or a little kind of icebreaker. Mr. Francis was actually my mentor in the university. He was 1 year ahead of me in agriculture, and he was my mentor, like academic mentor, life mentor. He has raised the bar so high, and I am so grateful to know him. And AYOMIDE is a very dear friend. Also met in the University of Ilorin, attended the same fellowship, and it's so great that everyone is doing well. I am so grateful for that. So I'm a bit, shaky to facilitate to my mentor, but trust me, you're going to learn a lot from these people. You've seen their bio, so you already know what to expect. I don't need to talk too much about that. We're going to go right into it. The title of our panel session, thank God Mr. Francis has it at the back of his screen, Thriving in the Private Sector, Skills, Pathways, and Insider Insights for Post-NYSC Success. So we're going to start with Mr. Francis, and we're going to have a round of questions that both of you will answer, and then some personal questions really related to your pathway and what people can draw from it. So first, we want both of you to tell us about yourself and your career journey after NYSC. So we'll start with Mr. Francis, and then we're going to go over to Mr. AYOMIDE. Thank you very much.
Okay, good evening, everyone. It's confirmed you can hear me clearly. Okay,
Very
great.
well.
Good evening once again, and thanks for having me on this session. I'm grateful to be here and lovely to see familiar faces. Huh? But yeah, thank you very much. So about myself, a bit has been said in the citation that was displayed, but yes, I'm Francis, and yes, I'm currently an auditor. I would like to say that, an agriculturist that is now an auditor. That's a summary of whom I am currently and what I'm building to continue to be in, right? So for me, if I start my journey from NYC down to where it is right now, post NYC, of course, I served in the Federal University, and post NYC, I moved straight into the auditing space, consulting space, if I may make it broader that way. Not necessarily because I understood what was there, but I guess continuing in this session, we'll go deeper into that, understanding what even made me go there and why I'm still there. But yes, currently what I do is I work as an auditor, an external auditor to be specific. And the essence of my work is to provide assurance to stakeholders on the health of any business that I'm auditing. That summarizes what I do basically. So I provide assurance to stakeholders meaning shareholders, government agencies, anybody basically that is interested in the financial health of a business. I provide those assurance that yes, the business is either in a good health or is not in a good health. It's both ways, right? Of course, we would always want to see goodness, but there are times when it may not necessarily be that way. So that's a summary of what I do. I've been doing that for the past 6 years plus. So from NYC, after NYC, that's basically what I've been doing. That summarizes my post NYC experience, basically. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Francis. Over to you, Mr. Ayo.
All right, thank you so much for this opportunity, right? I'm just smiling really because you know, this kind of gatherings are not very common, and I want to appreciate you, Fumi, and your team for working something out, and not just working it out, also pushing it out so that young people can get some sort of clarity immediately after NYC. Yeah, thank you so much. So my name is AYOMIDE, and I don't know if it was an AI that said those things or it was somebody, but I want to applaud the person. The person was able to manage to
Wow.
was able to pronounce my name. Yes. My name, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Now, yes.
Please
Now,
confirm that
yes.
you can
We
hear me.
lost you for a moment, but now, yes.
All right, thank you. So my name is AYOMIDE EBIETOMIYE. I currently work with Parallax Bank. I work as the team lead, right, of HR operations in Parallax Bank. Basically, I started my career in HR by not intentionally. I just, let me use the word, I stumbled into HR by virtue of certain skill sets, right? So I started my career, in HR from Unity Bank. Prior to Unity Bank, I was working with a telecommunication company that was Glow, and I was working as the customer service representative. But I had certain skill sets, right, even while working as a customer service representative. And then I had an interview with Unity Bank at the time. They needed somebody with a very, very strong data analytics skills in HR because um, they were not very strong people in their HR team at that time that could, clean data, work on data, do a lot of visualization at that time. So, and I was just quite very young, coming out fresh from NYC. So that was how I got onboarded into HR. And now HR is not just a thing for me, it's my career. And then from Unity Bank, I moved to Fidelity Bank. I'm currently putting on my Fidelity Bank shirt. So I don't know if you can see this. There's supposed to be like an HR stuff there. I didn't want to put on my Paralex Bank shirt. Apologies, but yeah, because I wanted you to see the HR stuff there. Then I moved from Fidelity Bank to Paralex Bank. Yes, so I don't know if that suffices.
Thank you so much. Suffices very well. And thank you so much to both of you because
Can
you
you hear
are
me?
mentioned. Yes, can you hear me too? Can you
Yes,
hear
I can hear
me?
you clearly. Yeah,
All right.
yeah, I can hear
So
you clearly.
yes, shout out to ADELOWO. ADELOWO is actually Ghanaian. She's the one that did the voiceover, one of our team
Oh wow!
members. Yes,
Oh
shout
wow!
out to her.
Wow!
Shout out to you, ADELOWO.
She was able to pronounce my name very well. I was shocked. I don't know how she did it, but then Adulum,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much because you touched on things that we had learned from day one and day two when you talked about the fact that you had skills. And also for Mr. Francis, we are seeing, remember yesterday, for those that were around, Chioma said something. She was like, transition is not a straight line. I think she said something like that. Like your transition journey is not a straight line, and that sometimes confusion is part of clarity. You can see that. And then Elijah told us, make yourself a real person by having your skill sets. I think Tolu also said that, Joseph said that take courses, upskill yourself. And I mentioned during my own mini talk that I also had to take some courses, take some paid internships. So I love that, you can already hear it that he was able to move into the banking sector because he had data analysis skills and he studied statistics in the university. So I believe that some of those
I
skills did
studied
not just
mathematics.
mathematics.
I
Sorry,
studied mathematics.
please.
It was Dolako that studied statistics.
I studied statistics, sorry. So I don't know if the skills came from the school or you had to take online courses. I think you tell us that when you answer your next question. So maybe we should even start with you. Like, what were the skills? What were the mindsets? What were the beliefs that actually helped you to navigate early career challenges successfully? Because you were able to get into the banks almost immediately after NYSC, after working with the telecoms. So what helped you to move that fast?
All right, so let me say this. I, I want to try as much as possible to be pragmatic because a lot of people do not know that one of the things that happens to us as young people is that we are not ready, to go all in. When I left the university, I didn't have any skill. I was not one of the people that was privileged to have a laptop. I don't know if Fumi can be a witness to that, but I wasn't one of the people that was privileged to have a laptop throughout my stay in the university. So my project, I was making use of a friend's laptop, Christiana's laptop. I was coding on LaTeX and all of that. So when I got into NYSC, right, I had made up my mind that this period of 1 year, what I'm going to do with this period of 1 year is that I'm going to intensify in skill development because I needed to know where I was going to. All right. So I got a laptop, right? I saved a bunch of my alloys. I think the first 2 months of my alloys, we were privileged to get the first 2 months of my alloy. It was a wrong payment from federal government. So I was one of the people that started earning 33K. So the federal government paid my state, each person in my state for 2 months. That was a mistake. So I was paid 66K, right? 66,000 naira. I was paid that in January. So the moment we were paid that amount in January, what happened was that I was like, this is a lot of money. What am I supposed to do with this a lot of money? And I had a savings of about 15,000 naira. That was how I got my first laptop. So when I got my first laptop, the next thing I did was I'd already mapped out certain things I wanted to learn. I had a range of things I wanted to master before I leave NYSC. So while I was serving, right, I was learning data analytics skills, right? And when you say data analytics skills, it looks vague, right? So what are the things that you learn in data analytics skills? That's probably what you want to ask me. So I was learning critical tools that we use for analytics, not just the mind, because as a mathematician, I already had the mind of a data analyst based on the course that I studied. But I did not have those tools. And if you don't have those tools, you cannot analyze any data. You can't make sense of anything. So what I did was I downloaded Excel, right? When I downloaded Excel, Tableau, Python at that time, and then Power BI. These were my four major tools, right? These were my four major tools that I mastered within 1 year. So I learned Python to a point that in 2020, I was already working on machine learning, right? While I was serving. So some people might say, was there a gathering? No, I didn't have any gathering because I was posted to a remote village, right? But one of the things that I was able to have was that I was able to do a lot of search. I was always continually searching for free courses. So it would be very funny for me to tell you that I actually didn't pay for any course that I took, even up until date, right? I had log of free courses. I can give you log of free courses that you can jump into, how you can grow from zero to hero using certain courses. I picked up cognitive AI because the truth is the moment you're looking for something, you're going to start finding those materials. So I was hunting for them, right? I picked in cognitive AI. If you check cognitive AI now, one of the things you're going to see is that you're going to see certain courses, certain chapters in those courses that can lead you from the basics of Python, right, into the advanced level of Python, all for free. You don't have to pay a dime. You see, if you move to Udacity, you're going to find a lot of free courses in Udacity. So, but for me, I started with Trump Excel to master my Excel skills. If you go to Google, sorry, not Google, to YouTube, the moment you try Trump Excel, that's one of the best Excel courses you're going to find on YouTube. I started with Trump Excel from basics to advanced. I picked that up and then I mastered this. It was given practical data that I was working on. And then for Tableau, there was also somebody for Tableau. It was this Indian guy. Now I've forgotten his name. Code Basics, yes. If you type Code Basics on YouTube, yeah, you're going to find he had series of courses. For some of them, they run like boot camps, even on YouTube. But when you run this boot camp on YouTube, they're going to give you a certification the moment you have completed this project. Yeah. So basically, this was how I was able to make use of my time in NYC. I was doing this every midnight. I'm going to tell you the truth. I had a very busy day, but from 12 a.m. to 3 a.m., this was what I was doing. I was just learning, and just learning. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being so pragmatic, like nothing to add. Thank you so much. So we move over to Mr. Francis, and we have kind of the same question for you. That you were someone that switched fields. I always used to tell Mr. Francis that he betrayed agriculture. I remember when he first started working with KPMG, because he had been my mentor in school. I was like, this is a betrayal because of how passionate he was about it. So as someone who switched careers, Mr. Francis didn't have an accountant background. He switched when he started his career in KPMG. So what were the beliefs? What were the habits? What were the skills that helped you to navigate that transition with confidence? You are muted, so we cannot hear you yet. We don't want to miss anything, please.
Oh, please. I'm
Thank
very
you.
sorry. I said thank you very much for me. And I was listening keenly to AYOMIDE, and I would say, yeah, he really did have a wonderful NYC. My own NYC was filled with me resting. I was resting from the rigors of 5 years in the University of Ilorin and having to navigate all those stress. But of course, I was still trying as much as possible to build skills because I'd sort of mapped out what I wanted to do. I had that passion for knowledge. I had the passion for facilitating knowledge, and I had the passion for agriculture, just like Fumi had said, right? I was very clear. At a point in my life, 2017, 2018 to probably early 2019, if I send an email to you, the tagline on my email would be, after you see my name, the next thing you will see there is young plant breeder. Like, I was so certain what I wanted to do. And I was pursuing it effectively, looking for admissions, of course, outside Nigeria. In fact, about 2 universities in Canada must have been tired of picking my calls at that point in time because I was always reaching out. So that was what I was doing. So coming to switching into accounting, right, or switching into auditing specifically, I did not know anything that was happening there. To be fair, when I went for the interview, the assessment center, and they were asking, what does KPMG do? What I said as answer is what we saw online. So we're cramming things like, what's the full meaning of KPMG? What's the meaning of auditing? Is the dictionary understanding that we had, right? So I knew nothing. But if there was something I took there with me, is that same passion that was driving me from agriculture, that passion to learn and to facilitate knowledge. So by the time I got the job, one of the things that kept me going is that, okay, this is a new challenge. I always tell people back then when we were in school and even after we left school that if you studied agriculture, I'm not sure there's anything that would really be too challenging for you. People feel the name agriculture, that secondary school understanding of agriculture, that's what people bring into it. But by the time you actually study the course and you understand that you're doing chemistry, you're doing physics, you're doing management sciences, you're doing social sciences in this agriculture, it sort of broadens your mind. Engineering also, right? It sort of broadens your mind to say that, yes, it seems you can challenge anything. So that was one of those key things that I took into KPMG. As we got there, and I saw it that, okay, this is a new challenge. They are just talking about debits and credits. What are these people trying to feel like they know something? All this thing that is not even making logical sense. Coming from a science background, we think things through logic. Like if you add A plus B, should give you this, right? But when you hear debit and credit, they will tell you, okay, if you look at it from this perspective, this is what it will give you. Then they will tell you, if you look at it from another perspective, this is what it will give you. It seemed quite illogical, but at the end of the day, I felt, alongside my other guys that were coming from the science background, that there's definitely going to be a way to this madness, and we have to challenge it and find it out. So that tenacity from agriculture to be the best was something I transferred into this place. If I backpedal to my 200 level in agriculture, there was a course we did where the lecturer made us know at least 20 plants or 20 trees in the University of Ilorin campus. I don't know if they did that with you for me. And I'll be walking through the campus and I will look at a tree. I would say, this is the name of that tree. I'll look at another one, this is the name of that tree. So that drive to excel beyond what any other person could be or could do was something I carried there. Also, the understanding that if they tell you something, if you're in classes and the lecturer is saying things, you need to pay key attention to the innuendos, the things they do not necessarily say out loud, but they actually mean, because those probably might be the key things they're after. So that kind of thought is what I carried into accounting and into auditing to say that, yes, I can champion this, I can come out through it. And well, this is 6+ years later, I'm already a manager in KPMG. So I think I probably went in with a good skill, right? Clock it. Yeah, I went in with a good skill. Yeah. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. You talked about clarity, you talked about the growth mindset. Do we remember the growth mindset from Mr. Elijah, where you see a challenge as an opportunity? And he talked about transferable wisdom for changing careers. It's like, I did agriculture, I was bored, and I'm going to transfer those skills here. I see Mr. EBIETOMIYE, but we have a follow-up question from Mr. Francis, and then we'll come back to you, Mr. EBIETOMIYE. So, Mr. Francis, we also want to ask you, how did you even enter the KPMG graduate training program? How did you find out about it, for example? Because I remember myself, I shared my story of how I was just waiting for the next to come upon me during my transition after NYSC. And I remember it was someone who asked me, do you even have a CV? Have you applied for a job? And I remember then reaching out to say, but Francis, what are you even doing? what is this KPMG thing about and all of those things. So can you share with the audience, like, how did you find out about it? Where can they find the information? What competencies are the firms looking for? Because I remember the exam. Anyways, you talk about it. Please go ahead.
Okay, thank you for the question. So, like almost every graduate, so can you hear me clearly? I think the network is a bit sketchy from my end, but if you can hear me clearly, let me know. Okay.
Now, yeah.
So like almost any graduates, you know, that drive to do something when you're done. I had it. So it meant for me, I applied for every and almost any job that seemed tenable and was not in Lagos. That was what I was doing. And I'm very specific to say not in Lagos. I was looking for a job that was not in Lagos. So when I was on Jobberman sites, Hot Job, or several sites, I seem to have forgotten most of those sites now, but I can tell you for a fact, when I was looking for a job, I knew those sites very well. And of course, at that time, LinkedIn was not necessarily a big thing as it is right now. So I was always filtering for jobs. I set up search alert, Google alert. That was when I found Google job alert. I set those alerts so that when there's any job fitting the descriptions that I set, I'm alerted about them. So the first I saw within this consulting space, of course, I did several bank interviews, wrote several exams. I can still remember the one I wrote for First Bank somewhere in my term that year. I cannot forget that exam because in that exam, you had almost 7 or 8 options per question. And I can tell you for a fact, either way you solve it, you will see your answer there. You will see your answer there. And by the time I exited that all that day, I knew I'd failed it. You know, there are some things you will just know. It's not by the inspiration of the Holy Spirit. It's just there's an infilling inside of you telling you that just move on to the next thing. So, you know, and when it was time to see things within the consulting space, I saw PwC first. Of course, I did not know what they were doing there. And when I saw the application, too much, I was just like, oh, I don't have time for it. It's not even what I want. I just want to apply for something. So I won't keep sitting at home. So I moved on from PwC. The next I saw after a while was KPMG and I applied for that. I don't know if you can hear me. Because the network seems to be hanging from my end.
Yes, we can hear you. Can you hear us?
Okay. Maybe to manage my bandwidth, let me go off camera so as to manage my bandwidth better.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So I saw KPMG, and one of the things that made me finish KPMG's application was because it was pretty straightforward. No much questions was being asked, no much essay was being asked. And so I finished it. And that was how I got that application done. A few months later, maybe a few weeks, I got the invite to come and write the test. As at that time, everybody had to come to Lagos to come write KPMG test. So of course, my dad had to encourage me to come. Remember I said earlier that anything Lagos I didn't want. So he literally had to encourage me to come and write the exam because I felt I don't even want to waste his money, right? But eventually I came in and wrote the test. Did I know what I was writing? To some extent, yes, because it was GMAT. And it's a very key thing that I would want to say to anybody that is currently in their NYC or doing post-current or you're already done with NYC. Whilst you're looking for that good thing or that exact thing that you want, even as you open yourself to the job market, please go there with sufficient knowledge to even pass the interview stage. You may not eventually take it, you may not eventually go for the job, but there's something you going for interviews does to your person. It improves your confidence so that when it's time to even get that thing you want, you are sort of prepared for that very thing. So you're not such person that keeps saying to yourself, it is that very thing I want that I must get. If it's not it, I will not take any other opportunity. GMAT, as it is currently, I'm not sure there's any job that you're applying for the graduate trainee level, whether KPMG, not KPMG, whether not basic test you'll be writing will not really be based on GMAT. So if you're here, you're probably hearing GMAT for the first time. Hope not. But if you're hearing it for the first time, I would beg and implore you that you spend time to understand what GMAT is. Build yourself on it. There are textbooks online for GMAT. There are, of course, YouTube courses also to just get some understanding about what this thing is, right? So I had to find resources one way or the other. I remember going online to graduate to Nairaland then to just look for the thread on the KPMG graduate training program. Saw a lot of things there, learned from a lot of persons online there. Do you get? So those are key things that you need to commit to in this journey, right? I did not know anything about KPMG, but if there was something I could know was what does it take to pass the assessment center? What does it take to pass the tests, the intake tests? Those are things I committed to because those are knowledge that you don't necessarily need to be in the business to have. You just have to have passed through the tests for someone to be able to say, this is what they asked us in the test. This is what you need to go through that test. So please, those are key things that you need to spend time on. Learn about them. For us in KPMG, probably I'm already jumping beyond the question, but I'll just chip that in a bit. Within the assessment center, we do not necessarily come into that assessment center and want to see if you know accounting or you don't know accounting. What we want to see is your ability to think. Can you think critically? If questions are thrown at you, good enough. For me, went through your stage. In fact, you got the job. And it's my own turn to also say that she abandoned me. So she also understands what it takes. Into the exam, nobody's really interested in if you really know accounting. If any question is thrown at you about accounting or economics, it's not really a deciding factor. It's more of how do you approach the question. So those are the key things I would say when you're preparing to come into this space. Those are key things to look at. Do I know what is happening online? Do I have access to these things? We're in an age where LinkedIn is very open. So please, if you are not on LinkedIn and you're on this call, you need to join. If you have joined and you don't use it effectively or efficiently, maximizing it, you may need to build those things. Google job search alerts. You need to create them. I'm telling you how I got that opportunity. Not like somebody woke me up and said, go and apply for KPMG or go and apply to PwC. The people in my circle did not know about KPMG or PwC. They do not. They don't. So I found it myself, did it myself, and by God's grace, I'm here, right? So that's a summary of it for me here.
Thank you so much, Mr. Francis. Thank you for, I love that today is so practical and it's just tying together everything. You can see proactivity shining through. You can see, being proactive, not just waiting. Thank you so much. So now we go back to Mr. Ayomide, and we want to ask you, Mr. Ayomide is HR. HR is human resources. He's on the lead of the team that searches for talent, that employs people. I hope I'm not exaggerating. You tell me if I am. But we want to ask you that from an HR perspective, what does a successful entry into the private sector look like for a fresh graduate today?
All right. So yeah, actually a very critical question. And I would say it's difficult to answer because of the reason I'm saying it's difficult to answer, not because I don't have the answer, but because we're doing a recruitment for new graduates, right? And what I'm seeing last year is different from what I'm seeing this year. Okay, let me give you an idea. So last year when we put out our advertisement for graduate trainee, right, we had about 8,000 applicants. Okay, that was last year. And when we did our tests, and thank God for what Mr. Francis said, GMAT is no-brainer, please. I'm going to send GMAT past questions to Fumi just so that she can share it with the community, right? I think I have about 2 or 3 of them. But GMAT that's the standard, right? Even if you don't like mathematics, even if you hate mathematics from birth, please just go and start learning GMAT. And it's not hard. Thank God for the advent of AI and ChatGPT. You can literally screenshot any question and then post it there. It makes it easier. It teach you the logics for you to be able to solve it. So as I was saying, I said last year we had 8,000 applicants. This year we had 27,000 applicants. That's what I'm saying. That question is hard. It's sort of difficult. But one of the things I've been able to see by virtue of what happens inside is that the first thing is young people are not given to detail. So that's like the first thing, right? Young people, we are in a haste. So you see application and then you tell somebody to upload their NYSC certificate. And when you go to the NYSC certificate part that they uploaded, you just click and then you're like, you're seeing birth certificate. Now, not because we did not ask for birth certificate, but the portion we asked for birth certificate for, you're providing an NYSC certificate. Do you get the point? So we might have asked birth certificate in all of what we are asking you, but this portion, what you should upload is not birth certificate, it's NYSC. But you went ahead and you uploaded your birth certificate, and then you come to the birth certificate portion, you uploaded your NYSC certificate, you are automatically disqualified. All right. The second thing I need to say that many people do not know is Gmail, their Gmails, right? When people are having to write their Gmails, a lot of people it's a very funny mistake. What they do is that they copy their Gmails, maybe they type it in the text in WhatsApp, and then they copy it and then they go and paste it on the form. When you do that, I'm saying this because this looks funny, but that's exactly what happens. When you do that, your Gmail automatically has a space either before or after. So when they are sending an email, you're not going to get. Do you get what I'm trying to paint to you? I'm showing you. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. I'm saying that you typed your Gmail correct. You posted, you typed it, maybe you kept it somewhere in WhatsApp so that you don't have to type again. You just go to WhatsApp, you copy, you copy it to your clipboard, then you go to the form and then you paste it. What you don't know that is happening is that there's usually one space immediately after your Gmail, right? So when you do AYOMIDE, EBIETOMIYE at gmail.com, there's not supposed to be a space immediately after your M. Do you get the point? So what it's funny, but when we are sending out mails, you won't get an email. So that's the first thing. The second thing is some other people, the issue that they also have is that when you are writing as simple as their Gmails, so what I would advise is don't copy and paste your Gmail. Always, it's not hard. It won't take you more than 5 seconds to type your Gmail address. Go ahead and type. Take the discipline to type and ensure that there is no space. I'm saying this because a lot happened and a lot is also currently happening. Okay, let me get back to your question, but I want to take it step by step so that these are like likely mistakes that people make, and then they are wondering, why did they not get back to me? Actually, we go back to you, but we just could not just get back to you, right? So another thing I want to say is there is what we refer to as age brackets, right? Age brackets. Now, each job has an age bracket. If you're going to come into the banking industry, the standard age bracket for the banking industry is 26. But there are specific banks, right? Like UBA. Now, the 26, let me give you an idea. The 26 is not absolute. Okay? So many young people also disqualify themselves without applying. So take, for example, I'm AYOMIDE and I'm 26 years old. But in December 31st, I'm going to be 27 years old, right? In December 31st, I'm going to be 27 years old. Many people do not apply for these jobs. What they don't know is that the moment you are not yet 27, you are not yet 27. The moment is not yet 31st of December, you can still get that job. So you might say that you are 26 years and 10 months. We don't care. You are not yet 27. So what it's populate, I'm telling you how the system runs back end. The system will take away every other thing behind. It's going to take away the months and the days. So if, for example, you are 26 years, 11 months, and 29 days at the date of application, you are still qualified and you can still get that job. But many people do not know this. So what happens at the end of the day is that they disqualify themselves even before applying. Because we know, right? I've told a lot of people to apply. We know that in the system, the moment you apply, the system automatically takes the months off. It takes the days off. So what it sees is the year. So until you clock 27, you are still eligible for that job. So don't disqualify yourself before applying for any job. I'm trying to look for another practical scenario. I've not answered your question, actually. I'm just trying to give you literal scenarios, things that happen real time. Okay. Let me look for another thing that happens during application. Yes, we also tell people to, sort of upload their CVs, right? I remember my first CV. Mr. Francis is here. He was the first person that reviewed my first CV. I sent my CV to him while I was here at serving. I think 5 months before I was done with service. I had my CVs ready. I had about 5 CVs for different jobs, right? So I won't say that as a young person, you should have multiple level CVs, right? I have CV for data analytics. I have CV for business analyst. I had CV for, several jobs, because I was just ready and, hoping to get any job, right? So you should have your CV. And one of the things that we used to see that happens is the fact that many people used to go and meet graphics designers and all these CV people to do their CVs. I'm sorry to break your heart. Those people are wasting your money. Okay? So you meet somebody to design your CV. Your CV has picture. You post your picture. There is an icon. Those iconic CVs. And then you put blue. Maybe you just make it very beautiful. At the bottom, you put red. You just want it to be nice. And I'm sorry to tell you also that can literally disqualify you. The reason is because if the system is ATS compliant, it's going to disqualify you because that system cannot read anything in the CV. What the system will be seeing are images, and the system cannot read images. So you see those old CVs that your fathers used to use, those traditional CVs that it looks like it's only letters that is there. Please go back to those old CVs. What we call them, right, is traditional CVs. That's what we call them. You see, traditional CVs, you see. So nobody needs all of that. Your picture, the moment the system, if the organization that you're applying for, if the system is ATS compliant, it takes you off. So those are like some of the things that literally take you off. All right. I will still get to your question, which is successful entry. I'm saying all of the things that can make you not successful. If you know the things that cannot make you successful, you will know the things that can make you successful, right? So go back to those old CVs. The only thing that you might want to do for your CV is to probably have a break, just a line, to be able to demarcate your professional summary, your education, your experience if you have any, your skill set if you have any. You don't need a reference, okay? You don't need a reference. You can just put at the bottom, reference will be available on request. You don't need to put your uncle that is a senator. We don't need that. Okay, just upload that, and that's going to be seamless. I think one more thing I want to say is, so if Mr. Francis was saying earlier that he was applying for jobs that were strictly within a location in Abuja. So if you're applying for a job, for example, that is domiciled in Lagos, one of the things that you want to do is that you want to ensure that your address carries Lagos, right? Not every HR person is going to give you time to say, oh, let me reach out to this person. Maybe they can move down from where they are. You have automatically disqualified yourself. If you see an HR person that probably wants to reach out to you, knowing that you're in Abuja, but they still insist on reaching out to you just because those kind of HR people, they are rare. The reason is because there's a lot of applications. So, and it's not because they are wicked. They are not wicked. Sometimes the moment you just click your location, it automatically filters you out and then it takes you away. Do you get the point? So if they are filtering, right? If we'll spool that data and then we'll filter by location, we find out that maybe you are in Gombe, for example, right? And I'm not saying there's anything wrong in being in Gombe, but if the location of where the job that you're applying for is domiciled in Lagos and they don't have branches outside of Lagos, they just filter those people out and take them off. Do you get the point? So, but if it's a banking industry, for example, because in the banking industry, we have branches, across several stuffs. We have, sorry, I was a bit distracted. I got an email. Sorry, I was a bit distracted. So we have branches across Nigeria, right? So that one is easier, right? You can be posted to any of the branches in any part of the country, right? So you need to be careful of the job that you're applying, and you need to see, are you applying for a job whose head office is domiciled in Lagos? Are you planning to work with an organization that doesn't have a branch, right? That only has a single head office, or it probably has a regional head office, right? And your application is going to be narrowed down to the head office or to the regional office. What it means is that you have to be careful of your address, right? And it doesn't mean that you have to lie. What it only means is that you can reach out to a cousin to say, oh, give me your address. You can make use of your cousin's address, because whether you like it or not, you're going to stay somewhere when you move to Lagos. Okay, so your cousin's place can be like one of the best places. For example, when I was considered for my employment in Unity Bank, one of the first things I was asked is, where do you stay? I told them I was staying in Ikorodu. They screamed. Ikorodu looked like a very far place, but to me, I felt I was staying in Lagos. But to them, they were like, how do you intend to come to VI from Ikorodu? I told them I was going to find my way out, that I had a cousin that was staying in Ajigule, I had to move from Ikorodu to Ajigule, and they know that I could not afford to use the waterways, not because Ikorodu is that far, but I couldn't afford to use the waterways. It was very expensive, having to use the waterways. So, for these, I need to official call is coming in. Need to find out. Let's do I just have to chat.
Sorry, Mr. EBIETOMIYE, we cannot hear you clearly.
All right, so can you hear me now?
Yes, now thank you.
All right, sorry, an official call came in, so I had to excuse myself. I had to tell them I was in a meeting. Okay, so let me now get into your question. I know I've said a lot. Let me try to get into your question. From an HR perspective, what does successful entry into the private sector looks like? So what it looks like is, first thing first, paying attention to detail, right? Paying attention to detail, like I said earlier. Feeling it's still the same thing. Let me put it simply. Paying attention to detail, right? For some jobs, you are asked to upload an offer letter, a cover letter, right? If you are asked to upload a cover letter, please upload a cover letter, right? Don't expect that they assume that you don't need a cover letter. Meanwhile, in Nigeria, in the average organization, you don't need a cover letter. You don't even need a cover letter. But if they are specifying for a cover letter, please get a cover letter. So yeah, I think I'm going to stop there. I've said a lot already.
Thank you so much, Mr. EBIETOMIYE. I mean, these are just, key nuggets, and thank you so much. I think with what you have said, you have answered many other questions that we had for you, like the common mistakes you observe during recruitment and how the youth can avoid them. I think you have spoken so well to that. And even on how the NYSC can play a role in shaping your early career direction and how young people can make the most of their NYSC year. For those of you who have not been through NYSC, you could hear from Mr. Ayo that during NYSC from 12 to 3 a.m. every day, he was taking data analytics courses. And he made it easy for you to start where you are. You don't have to look for the one that will cut your throat. No, he gave examples of websites, YouTube, Coursera, Udacity. You've also heard that you have to strengthen your math skills. Most interviews require that. And even if you don't like it, you have to do it. So thank you so much, Mr. EBIETOMIYE. Like, you have gone through most of your questions, in your previous answers. So our time is running fast. It's like we should not even leave this session because I'm learning so much. So back to you, Mr. Francis. We want to ask you, I think you have spoken to it a bit, but we just want to ask you, more clearly, to clarify that, what does learning on the job truly look like? I know you talked about the fact that you were able to transfer some skills from agriculture, but for a completely new field outside your degree, what does learning on the job look like in practical terms? And also, what advice do you have for like young Nigerians who want to switch careers or explore opportunities beyond their academic background?
Okay, thank you for the question. So learning on the job, as the word implies, is typically you learning whilst you're doing the job that you really don't have any idea about. If I want to be very plain with you about it. So if I want to go very practical with you to talk about how it was for me, I was thrown into the deep ends of the work. I got the job in September. The whole of September, October was more of trainings and all of that. Of course, there are trainings that you would not even understand what they are saying in the first place, because everything is new to you. And then by November, I think I was thrown on a job, but the job only lasted for 1 week before we had to pull out of it. In that 1 week, I also did not know what we're even doing. Then we entered into more trainings, telling us about what the job is really about. In that 1 week or thereabouts, they loaded us with so much information that even the information alone was enough for you not to understand what they were trying to teach you. So, of course, December came, everybody went on break. And then first Monday in January, I was thrown into the audit of the biggest food manufacturing organization in Nigeria. And that was where the learning started. So literally, you're made to do work that you're made to have responsibility for something that you know nothing about. And a key thing they would tell you is ask questions. You are in your year to ask questions. You are being evaluated for asking questions. So it was necessary that you come to a place where you do not think that you know so much, or you don't want them to think you do not know. And because of that, you're trying to manage perception about yourself. It is a place where you're open to learning. I can tell you, even at my level now as a manager, there are things that I'm seeing for the first time, and I would have to go meet someone that knows it, whether the person is on my level or is above me or is junior to me. As long as the person knows it, tell me. It shortens the time I will need to go and try to learn it by myself. What that does is, when the person gives me that understanding, if I want to go back to learn about it, I'm not starting fresh from the ground zero. I'm starting with some sort of jump start already. So learning on the job for us, basically, from a consulting perspective, because it's a fast-paced environment, and it's a place where your understanding, your ability to think. Remember, I said it earlier, one of the things we look out for during interview is your ability to think critically. right? So that is put to the test. Can you really think? So when something you do not know anything about is placed in front of you, how do you question it? And also, if I would call this out, one of the things that also helps you to move away from the mindset that you are not in school again. That's, there's this subtle competitive spirit we have in school. It's for some persons, it's not even subtle, it's very pronounced. The need to be the best, to be the best. So when you find something that everybody should learn from, you hide it because you feel like if you share it with everybody, they will have edge over you. When you come to spaces like this, and I'm not talking about government work or some other industry work. I'm talking within this space, private sector consulting. There is the need for, that team spirit. One of the things you are even evaluated on is teamwork. You did the assessment center for me. So you know that one of the phases in the assessment center is that group interaction. And there is a reason why that happens, is so that they want to see how you can relate with a group. So you come into a space where you do not know anybody. How do you thrive in that place? Is one of the key skills that is needed to learn on the job, so that you don't isolate yourself unknowingly because you want to prove that you are good. It's a skill that we have in university that you must not bring into the private sector. They need to isolate yourself so that you will now do something massive. People will now know you because you did something massive. That is not how we want to know you. We want to know you by joining to do things with people, by being in a group and showing yourself as important to the group. So I can tell you for a fact, if you come to KPMG today, if you come to PwC today, if you come to Deloitte today, if you come to EY, or you go to BCG, you go to McKinsey, it's the same kind of understanding that you find there, that you are not necessarily expected that you know that thing, but the moment you come there, you are given that thing, you have to know it by asking questions, not by saying, I will figure it out myself. So it's one of the key points to learn on the job here. You have to ask questions. This space is a place where your first class is not the most important thing, because probably among the persons that you came in together, the separating factor is that you now have a couple of best graduating students. So it's not first class again. Your first class is now like water, if I can use that word, because you just see everybody, a bunch of first class. It's not that there are no 2-1s. Of course, in KPMG, the least you can have is a 2-1 for you to come in. But you would see a lot of 2-1s and a whole lot of first class. So probably you are coming from your class where maybe just 10 persons out of 300 are the first class. I'm telling you, in my set of 26 of us in my unit, not in the entire KPMG, about 26 of us came in, and probably half of that class, half of us were first class. Okay, so it is not, you are not there to come and prove that I know. You are there to come and prove that you can know. So there is the need to have a shift in your mindset. Nobody employed you because they felt you know. You do not know that thing. Even if you studied accounting and you come into this space, you still do not know what it needs to do the work. You have to be ready to learn to do the work. I was in a session some week ago, and someone was asking that it looks like they were implying that it looks like they prefer to take people that are not from the accounting background to places like KPMG and all the likes. And it seemingly looks true, because usually those of us that did not study accounting, we do not come into the interview feeling like we know. We come trying to express what is this necessary skill, the skill that shows that we are open to learning. So learning on the job, I will say it again, you have to be ready to actually learn, not come there and be proving that you already know the thing. If you come on my job, if you're lucky, blessed enough to come to KPMG, and I'm your manager on a job, I will give you what you do not know. I will not give you what you know, because I want to see how well you can quickly learn. Because we're in a field where on a daily basis, something almost new comes up, or you encounter new things with your client, and the expectation is you need to figure out the concerns, you need to figure out the issue.
Mr. Francis, we lost you for a while. But please, who is feeling this session? Because, oh my God, I am gaining so much, learning, so, like that statement hit me. You're not there to prove that you know, but to prove that you can know. So all your excuses of, I'm not doing it because I don't know, like that table is broken. The table is broken. It's now, are you willing to know? Are you willing to do it so that you can know? Oh, that table is broken. I mean, so much goodness coming out of this. Oh my. Mr. Francis, we cannot hear you. But while we wait for him to come back, Mr. EBIETOMIYE, can you just, because you've answered like most of your questions already.
Yeah. I just even remember. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I just remember I didn't mention some critical information also.
Good.
So you see some, for example, in an application, right? You see somebody having to, you're told to upload your WAEC certificate. You're told to upload your birth certificate. You're told to upload your BSc certificate. Now, I want to say this. Your WAEC certificate is different from your WAEC results. WAEC certificate and WAEC results are not the same thing. One is a certificate, one is a result. Number two, your birth certificate is different from your birth certificate that an employee is requesting for. Is not the one that they give to your parents in the hospital when they gave birth to you. Is the one that was given by the government, National Population Council, yes, National Population Council. That is the birth certificate that we are asking for, not hospital certificates. A lot of people have a hospital certificate. I need to say this. When they are asking for BSc certificate, they are not asking for statement of results that you went to school. What they are asking for is BSc certificate. Please, let's take note of these things. You can go ahead and ask your question. I just thought to, say that. So I'm not sure I can hear you. I think you're muted.
Okay. I'll say Mr. Francis is back. We will come back to you so that we can. I feel, Mr. EBIETOMIYE, you have to be somewhere at 9. I know. So we will come back to you, Mr. Francis, shortly. Please just hold your thoughts for us. So Mr. EBIETOMIYE, we want to know what unique strengths or growth advantages does the private sector provide, and how can youth leverage them?
All right, so for the private sector, right, one of the things I'm going to say is a fast-paced world, right? So it's a place that you're learning every day, you're growing every day. There are new set of challenges, right? It's not a public sector, right? So, and that's why in the private sector, there's something that I refer to as your KPIs, right? And your KPIs is usually reviewed, right, on an annual basis or biannually, right? So the private sector is the sector where if you want to grow, you want to expand yourself, you want to have capacity to be able to deal with things, even outside of the country, right? The private sector is going to give you the opportunity, so for you to be able to have that level of experience. I have friends that have worked in the banking industry here in Nigeria. They got to the UK, they are also working in the banking industry. One of my friends worked as credit administrator here in the Keystone Bank. He's currently working in a bank in the UK, right? And I have friends, quite a couple of friends that are also working in banks in the UK, right? And it's based on the things that they've learned here. The truth is, what we practice here is what they practice over there. The difference might be very, very little. It's not something very it's not so much. We've also had HR guys here that live here, and then they travel to Canada, and then they're practicing HR. They travel to the US, they're practicing. So there is this sort of a universal knowledge that is available to you, whether you're in Nigeria or you're in Kenya or you're in Ghana. It's a universal knowledge. It's a global knowledge, right? Because you're in a private sector. I don't know if that works in the public sector, but I'm telling you that because you're in the private sector, you have access to that kind of knowledge. Another thing I want to say about the private sector is that when it comes to remuneration, okay, if you're looking for a job that will pay you well, just come to the banking industry. I'm begging you. Like, people say 9 to 5 workers and they don't have money. It's not true. I'm a compensation person. I can't tell you some things, but let me put it this way. Entry level in the banking industry now, let me not shout. I don't want to shout, okay? Entry level in the banking industry now, they earn, in some banks, they earn as much as $500,000. I mean entry level. Yes. I don't want to shout so that people don't they don't guess my salary. Are you okay? So they don't guess my salary. So, but entry level, like you're coming into the system, okay? They earn as much as $500,000 in Nigeria. I've seen people say that, is it possible on Twitter? I'm laughing. There are entry level people, like people that just come out from NYSC, right? They just came out from NYSC and they are earning that much. I hope you know that your doctors in university don't earn that much. Okay, so if you're looking for the sector that can give you good remuneration for the banking industry. Now, there's an industry that it's not very loud. It's the insurance industry. It's also part of the financial industry. It's the insurance industry. And let me tell you the truth. It's an industry that is not making a lot of noise. But you see, there are a lot of opportunities there. You need to go hunting for them. Okay? Yeah, so the private sector is a big sector, is a sweet sector. Mr. Francis is a manager. If you're in the banking industry and you're a manager, you're giving, let me say this. I'll say this and I'll keep quiet so that I don't give you too much information. If you're in the banking industry, for example, and you're a manager, you're entitled to a status card that is worth about 50 million. I won't say more than that. So thank you.
Should I be leaving my PhD now and just coming to apply for your bank? Thank you so much, Mr. EBIETOMIYE. Thank you so much. We have one more question for you, but before you go, Mr. Francis, are you able to come back on? Because you were giving us back-to-back nuggets, and we can't let you go without squeezing you. So please come and finish.
Okay.
Learning
Thank
on
you,
the job,
Barbara.
the advice, and I think you're already speaking to the last question for you before the final question for you both in what are the realistic challenges youth should expect, because you're already speaking to that in the consulting or audit pathways and how can they prepare. So you just take them all together and then we have one final question.
Okay. Yeah, I'm so sorry once again. My network went off. That's what caused the break. But like I said, right, please don't see it as an opportunity. Don't see coming into the private sector as an opportunity to prove what you don't know, really. Like, be ready to learn. It's a key factor that you need to bring in. We have banks now that are saturated with biochemists. What did you learn in biochemistry that you would use in the banking sector, for heaven's sake? So there's no need to come and be showing off what you do not know. Rather be ready to learn. I studied agriculture. I would say probably the only time I had anything accounting when I was doing agriculture was in 500 level when they were teaching us something about farm accounting or something. But whatever they did in that thing does not even scratch the surface of what is happening in accounting, right, or what I'm doing in auditing. So there is a need to be open to learn. And one other thing I saw, which is quite peculiar to the kind of space I am, is that there's more than enough resources to learn from. And by resources, I mean the people and the tools to learn from. So KPMG being a global organization, I rarely go to YouTube to go and learn anything about the work I do because there's a repertoire of knowledge in-house. There are tools we have online within our intranet just to go and learn about any single thing. So that sense of I need to know, I need to know, I need to know, channel it differently by going in to go and learn what is available within the business for you. Your thirst for knowledge should be that you're channeling it into the right place. When I came into KPMG, there was this book that we found then. They call it Dummy for Accounting. I think almost every feed has that book, Dummy for this, Dummy for that, Dummy for all of that. We were reading those things because we just needed to learn. So that is also a very key point you need to have. To be able to learn on the job, you have to have an open mind and an inquisitive mind to actually learn what is going on there. So if I move to that question around my advice, right, for Nigerian youth, young Nigerian youth that want to switch career and explore opportunity beyond their academic background, you need to first of all understand that you are not limited. It is a mindset that you must have. You are not limited because you studied that course that you studied in university does not mean that is all you can do. There are opportunities and avenues outside that you can explore. You're not limited. It's a mindset you need to have. When I was in school, when I hear about ICANN, I hear people winning prizes and all of that. I was always happy for them, but I was always telling myself, I can never do this thing. There is no reason on this earth why I would ever do it. Not because I felt I cannot do it, but I just felt, what are they doing there, right? But by the time I found myself there, right, on or before, I think it was in January, which was like 4 months after I resumed, I needed to start the ICANN classes, right? So you need to understand that you are not limited. Because it looks different does not mean it's not doable for you. It doesn't mean it's not doable for you. So it's the first thing you need to work with, your mindset, understanding that your mind is a very critical point for success. You need to work on it. I cannot be limited because I do not know anything about this thing. I've said it repeatedly on this call, in this webinar, that, see, I did not know anything. I'm sure when they were asking us, what do you know about auditing my assessment center? And I said those rubbish things I said, I'm sure they were just laughing. They were actually smiling, but probably I felt they were enjoying what I'm saying. But now I know that they were laughing at me, because I've also done assessment center for persons as facilitators now, or as assessor. And when we ask some of those questions and they say those things, we'll turn the laugh to a smile, because we know you don't know what you are saying. We don't expect that you know it. We just want to see how you approach the question, right? So please don't feel limited because you think it's something you cannot do. There are fields that you may not be able to come into because you do not have the necessary requirement, right? You cannot wake up, you studied accounting, and you wake up and you say you want to go and practice medicine. So don't over apply what I've just said. Don't say because Francis said you are not limited, you now wake up and say I can do medicine. You did not go through that 6 years in school, or at least I now say you want to do it. No, it's a case-by-case application of these things. If you want to come into the consulting space, which is where I am, if you want to go into banking, for instance, starting from the graduate training level, because that was something you need to pay attention to. If you're coming in from the graduate training level, this place, this environment allows you to express yourself, regardless of what you are or whom you are. The moment you meet the minimum requirements, which is usually tied around your account, the class of degree you came out with, your age, your WAEC, all those things. The moment you meet those things, it shows that you have the opportunity to come in and thrive therein. So don't feel limited, right? Don't feel limited. That's my very important advice to you. The next point within that is still wrapped around this limitation is, see, When you're switching career, be ready to understand that there are challenges that will come with it. It is the truth. You went to the university, spent 4 years to get acclimatized with this thing you are studying. If I give myself as an example, I went into the university, or my journey into looking for admission was for me to study medicine. By my SS2, I was determined on the kind of specialization I want to have in medicine. It was cardiothoracic surgery. I wanted to become a cardiothoracic surgeon. As at SS2, I knew that. So imagine I then got admission for agriculture. I remember the day I saw that thing. I was using a Nokia 5030, and then I saw my admission. I saw you have been admitted to be agriculture. I was like, what in God's name is this? Number one, I never did agriculture in secondary school. So I was wondering how, from where to where. So my 0-100 level was me coming to terms with agriculture, because I felt I'm good with this. I'm not gonna pursue that that medicine dream again. I just moved on from it. Not that I'm quick to give up on things, but I realized there's a whole lot to that I'm not saying, because I had to write jump more than once, right? So there was something that happened in my gap year that reframed my understanding and made me settle with agriculture. Right now, I spent 5 years coming to terms with agriculture and that this is what I want to do. And then I got out there, got job into something entirely different. So I would be lying to myself if I would say that I was prepared for what I will meet there. I wasn't. But there was something that my 5 years in agriculture had helped me to build. It's tenacity. So I could easily transfer that tenacity to when I came into auditing, the auditing space, to say that whatever challenge I find here, I will overcome it. So don't come into thinking that you need to switch career and you feel that it will be all roses or quite simple, no challenge, nothing like that. You can be very lucky that you will not face any challenge. Almost impossible for that to happen. The challenges are things that will actually keep you on your feet so that you can do that work effectively, so that you can excel there. Because it's not enough that you are just doing that job. Remember the title of what we're talking about today, thriving in the private sector, that you're able to thrive there and come out excelling. I was in the office on Thursday, and an associate director, this someone that is one level to becoming a partner. So I can tell you for a fact the person has been doing the work probably 10 years before I am. And she was commenting on the fact that she said, it seems that I do a lot of speaking engagement, and she was intrigued by how I'm able to do all of that and combine the job. She was appreciating me for having what's the word now? Commit myself to a couple of initiative within the business. And this is me speaking not just in Nigeria only. I'm speaking to West African audience of KPMG, and I'm speaking to Africa audience of KPMG. Talking to them about accounting, something that 6 years ago, 7 years ago, I knew nothing about. So I'm telling you, I'm coming on calls now and I'm facilitating session with over 500 persons to 900 or up to 1,000 persons across Africa on something that I did not know about 7 years ago. I can tell you for a fact, it was not because I felt I can do it. It is by work, committing to the challenges that came on across the way. So you need to understand that there would be challenges, but those challenges are meant to help you to thrive in the work. So I sort of have spoken to the realistic challenges that you would expect in the consulting and audit pathway. It's not easy. Let me not lie to you. If I tell you that auditing, consulting is as smooth as butter, I would be lying to you. So I'm telling you for a fact, I have people that somehow they are unable to progress in it. They just have to back out. It happens because you're dealing with standards. We call them standards, right? IFRS accounting standard, that's generally acceptable. If you're within the US space, you're dealing with US GAAP, a whole lot of things that someone somewhere just sat down, or a group of people sat down somewhere and said, this is how you will be doing this thing. and they will complicate everybody's life, and you have to decipher what they have written down and apply it to your Nigerian client. I'm being specific to say Nigeria because we are in a system where systems are not necessarily followed or processes that are not really followed. And then you are supposed to use an internationally acceptable standard to judge our Nigerian standard, which is not really, it can be an headache. So it's a challenging space, but it's a doable thing. We can do it. You can do it. I'm a clear testimony that you can do it, right? So I'm challenging everyone here. You would realistically face challenges if you come into the consulting space because it is expected that you're on your feet straight up. I'm telling you, 4 months into the work, I was expected to do what I don't know and do it well, not just anyhow, because you will do work that, imagine you do 100% of a work and someone comes in, review about 80% of it, and they are fine with it, and they believe that you have done the right thing. Do you get? If they believe you have done the right thing, and eventually the audit partner has to sign on it that this is fine. And there cannot be an issue. If there is an issue, the audit partner is either fined or can be jailed. And if they trace it down, they say you are the one that caused it. Imagine, in recent times, you found that happening, that somewhere outside Nigeria and all those countries, they will talk about audit failures. And when they trace it down, they trace it to junior team members as well. So there's a responsibility on your head to get that thing done. I'm telling you the weight of responsibility that you feel here. AYOMIDE can also tell you about what it looks like within the banking space. You are even in a space where it is finance. You're dealing with people's money. There's risk. Risk is one of the greatest parts of the banking sector. You cannot afford to do rubbish because it can have an overarching event or an overarching effect upon the Nigerian economy and the global economy. So please, those are challenges that you would need to face, and you must be ready to walk through them. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Francis. It's like we should just tabernacle here. Well, we have a responsibility of time to our audience. And so, dear audience, we want to appeal with you. We still want to take questions from you. We still want to ask Mr. Francis and Mr. EBIETOMIYE just one more question, because Mr. AYOMIDE has an expression that could be important to you, which we would like you to know about. So we're just begging, like yesterday, if you could give us 20 more minutes of your time. We promised to end at 9, or please, can you just give us a reaction? If you say no, honestly, we're just going to round up the panel session, maybe take question for 5 minutes, and then we will conclude. But if you're willing to give us 20 more minutes, we can go ahead. I see her start clapping. Are you saying yes? Maybe somebody wants to put it in the chat for me, so we know that we have your consent to go ahead. Who is our lifesaver? Yes, so thank you so much, promise. I feel that, yes, so please go ahead. Thank you so much. So, Mr. Francis, we want to ask you a final question. If you could go back to your NYSC self, because okay, we know that some people have, so I want you to speak knowing that you're facing around 3 different kinds of persons. Some of them have not gone through NYSC, they're waiting to be deployed, or they're still in the university. Some are currently serving, and some have finished NYSC and are still looking for an opportunity. So if you could go back to these selves, what's one piece of advice would you give them about entering the private sector, or about their life generally? You said a lot, you have broken tables of laxity, tables of excuses. You have broken them. But what is that final word you want to leave with the young people who are on this call today?
Thank you very much for me. I would say for your NYSC year, explore. That would summarize what I'm about to explain to you. Explore. Don't spend the NYSC year going to CDS only or going to your PPA only. Explore. There's a whole lot that is happening there. For me, I only got to know about KPMG after NYSC, months after, about 8 months after or thereabout. But can I tell you that I have persons that resumed with me into KPMG whilst they were still serving. I'm not saying they came into KPMG as NYC, serving as NYC. They already got the job whilst they were serving. So while me, I've spent like 8 months plus at home after my NYC, they were still in NYC. They came from NYC to come and do the induction, or to come in for the first week of job, finished the induction, went back to go and complete their NYC, and then they resumed when they were done. So they already had that level of understanding of what was going on within this space. And not all of them were necessarily accounting students, right? Because you can say, okay, maybe because they were accounting students, they already knew about. No, not all of them. Some of them were not. So explore. Don't just spend your NYC doing all of the activities. It's a wonderful time. Yes, it's a time. Most of us are almost always wanting to rest. Like I said about myself, I saw NYC as a year to rest and a year to do the activities and to, of course, work for God. All those things, they are wonderful, they are beautiful. But the point is, you can do all of them. You can enjoy your NYC, wear all the beauties of khaki, do your CDS, be president in CDS, be at your PPA, do projects and all of those things. But understand that you're going to leave NYC. The things you're doing there, are they things that will position you for when you are done? If they are not going to, then you need to add those things that would position you. I'm not saying replace, I'm saying add, right? Yeah, your NYC year is a year to soft launch you to what the work life looks like when you're done, right? It's a soft launch. So you are not necessarily having all of the responsibility, but you're building the responsibility. I'm now in the workspace where I cannot just say, I'm not going to work. Oh, I don't want to go to work today. I can't do that. But when you're in NYC, you can decide one day and say, okay, today, I don't want to explore these opportunities. I don't want to commit to this. I just want to do this, that, and I'm fine today. And nobody will penalize you for it, right? But it's an opportunity for you to explore those opportunities. Go online, start looking at what it means to be in the job market. If you've not started NYC, you're even at a blessed position because you can now even position yourself to serve in organizations that will help build this mindset. Almost on a daily, I have people coming into my LinkedIn asking me how they can join KPMG for their NYC. In fact, I've seen people come to tell me to ask how they can join KPMG for internship, pre-NYC internship, that's undergraduate internship, not even graduate. So I'm telling you, there are some persons that are already doing this thing well. So if you are almost done with NYC and you have not started, you need to. If you're finished NYC and you're not yet into that space, you're still limiting yourself to saying, this is what I study, I have passion for it, it must be what I will do. Wonderful. I'm not taking that away from you, but I would say probably spread your net a bit more, right? That thing you're looking for, you will eventually get it. You may eventually get it, let me put it that way. But whilst you're looking for that, can you cast your nets wider? Explore and see if there are other things that you can do. No knowledge is wasted. I used to joke with my colleagues that studied accounting. I tell them that, see, if they say accounting, we are not doing again today, I can go and dust my CV and say my certificate, I did agriculture, but you put that studied accounting, this is all you can do. Do you get? So the knowledge is not wasted. So please explore. That's the summary for me.
Wow. Oh, good. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Francis. I know Mr. EBIETOMIYE has to leave soon, so we'll take him immediately, but we hope you can stay back to take questions from the audience. So, Mr. EBIETOMIYE, your last word, your final word, like you've said a lot too, but what is that one word you want to leave with the audience? And as you speak to that, we also want to know about your expression, the Purpose School, because I believe that it is very strategic for those on this call. And the good thing about this webinar series is that These recordings will also be uploaded, so it will be made accessible to the public after a period of time. So you will still get people knowing about this and probably connecting with you from the replay. So please go ahead.
All right, thank you so much for me. What I will say to my NYSC self today is leverage on LinkedIn. Okay, I got to know about LinkedIn in 2020, but I wasn't doing anything on LinkedIn. So I would really encourage you, even if you're a student, right? Start leveraging on LinkedIn. Start sharing your daily activities on LinkedIn. Start building your audience on LinkedIn. Start speaking about what you love to do. Start speaking about where you want to work. Start talking about it early. It's not something that many of us were open to, in the early part of our lives. But I can tell you the truth. A few jobs that I got that I came through LinkedIn, right? In fact, I applied for a job today. All right, and I applied through LinkedIn. I applied for KPMG. The role is HR operations lead, KPMG, right? Not because I need the job. I don't need it, but I just want to have a feel of what it looks like, having to interview with KPMG people. I just want to have that feel, right? But let me just say that leverage on LinkedIn as much as you can. Secondly, let me say that learn. Francis has said it before, and I won't say it again. If you're serving, like I told some people, I said, the day you came into camp, they were laughing. I said, the day you entered into like camp, NYSC full day, you entered into camp. It's that day that you're supposed to start applying for your job. Your first job is supposed to be your first job, or the first application you're supposed to make. You're supposed to make it in NYSC camp. So what it means is that in your NYSC, you're supposed to have a series of interviews that you have already started doing. It's usually very, very painful and unfortunate that many people don't even have a CV after NYSC. So you're supposed to have a CV, like a basic CV. Just like Francis has said, and when he was saying it, I was like, I wish he could really emphasize it, right? Because the truth is, if you're coming in as graduate training, we don't want you to know anything. Just be serious. You get the point. We don't want your knowledge is not needed in the sector. There's nothing you can add to us, right? But just be serious. Just have that heart of learning, right? Have that heart of learning, right? If there is any other thing that you need to probably have some sort of skill set. For example, if you're in NYSC, you should be able to use basics like Microsoft Word, Excel, right? You should be able to make use of some of these basic tools, right? It's going to go a long way, but one of the things I want to emphasize is leverage as much as you can leverage on LinkedIn, and then don't stop learning. Don't stop learning. Don't stop learning. Don't stop learning. And one thing I also want to say is join communities. You see, if you're in school, I was speaking with my younger sister 2 days ago. I have two siblings in the university. I told one, I said, go and join NUJ, right? That's Nigerian Journalists Association or something. I told her, go and join that association. I told the other one, go and join DSN. DSN is Data Science Nigeria. It's in every campus, as far as I know, up until the Southwest, the North Central. So if you're in the university, go and join some of these communities, some of these associations, right? If you're in University of Learning, for example, there is CareerWise has like a community. Google has a community. Microsoft also has a community, right? So go and join some of these communities, right? I know that some people, you can be very busy with religious activities and all of that, but please, as much as you can, join these communities, leverage on them. There's a lot that you're going to learn. The truth is that in the next decade, right, it's going to be very, very different. And it's going to be different because people are going to start working while they're in schools. Like, that's exactly what's going to happen. It's going to be so different, right? My friend started working while she was in school. She was in 300 level. She was earning close to my salary as someone that was working. She was in 300 level, but she was working for a startup, right? She was already working as a designer, right? So there are a lot of skills that you can do with. There are a lot of things you can make do with. You don't have to wait until you're serving. You don't have to wait until you're done with service before you can start making something out of your life. Another thing I want to say is Francis had said it, explore, but I want to just try as much as possible to define, to be definitive in that sense. And the reason I want to say that is because some of you probably have passion for photography and you're like, what do I want to come and do in the banking industry? Some of you probably study in medicine. You're like, what do I want to come and do in the banking industry? Please come. The truth is that you can work in HR as a medical practitioner. We need an HR person that studied medicine that can cater for the 8 employees. You see, we need it. Many of you might not know, but that's the truth. You can work in HR and you studied medicine. So there's a desk for you, right? You can work in the banking industry, even if what you love to do is photography, even if what you love to do is graphics design. There's a department for you. If what you love to do is content, let me shock you. There's a lady that is a content creator, and she works with UBA. She got poached by UBA because of her content. As I speak to you right now, she has gotten promotion twice. Like, she's one of the fastest growing person in the banking industry. And the reason is because she just loves content creation. So what she does is that she's always pushing UBA out. That's what she does. That's what she loves doing. So she works with the brand. We call that department brand and comms, right? That's what we call them. If what you love doing is event planning, you like to do weddings. In banking industry, we have a lot of events every day. Some of our guys travel as far as the north because we have several events. You can come into that space and then, before you know it, and the truth is the moment you come into, like the graduate trainee setting, they are going to find some of these attributes and they are going to pick you and send you to that department based on what they perceive that you have strength in. So if they perceive that this guy is a photographer, they will just send you to brand and comms. If they perceive that this guy is an accountant, they'll just send you to FinCon, right? Or they'll send you to audit, or they'll send you to internal control. You see that? So there are a lot of departments. You don't need to know anything. Even if you have even if your passion is as basic as you love teaching, you can come into HR. There's a department for you. It's L&D, learning and development. What they do is that they teach. That's what they do for a living. And what they do is that they prepare courses and all of that, LMS and all of that, right? So as much as you can explore, don't say, I don't like banking, I don't like, no, explore. Keep applying. You'll be shocked that even if what you want to do is medicine, you can practice medicine. For example, in First Bank, there's a clinic in First Bank. So there are doctors in First Bank. You see, for some of you, probably like gym, right? You want to be a gym instructor. There's a gym in First Bank. And the truth is that more banks are beginning to have gyms. For example, in my bank, we are trying to push for gym. Do you get the point? So you can even be a gym instructor in the bank and you're on the bank's payroll. And what you are doing is gym instructor. The truth is because in the banking industry, we sit for a very long time and we want people to start doing exercises because of issues that has to do with the back. So we are trying to incorporate all of that into the system. You see, there's something that I wanted to say that, yes, if you like children, for example, more banks are beginning to have crèche. If you like children, maybe that's what you love to do. You can be in the bank payroll as a crèche, like, let me not say crèche, like a children teacher. And what you're doing is that the staffs of the bank that have children, you're just taking care of. Maybe that's what you love to do. There's a job for you. That's what I want you to know. There's a job for you. There's a space for you. You need to believe it and you need to go after it. All right. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. EBIETOMIYE. Thank you. We have like 7 minutes more just for the questions in the chat so that we can round up. And Mr. EBIETOMIYE, you didn't speak about the Purpose School. I hope you will do that as you answer questions. But I will start with Temitope. She said, can you upload your CV instead of your resume when requested for CV during an application? I think that is for you, Mr. EBIETOMIYE, or Mr. Francis. Anyone can take it. Yeah.
All right. I don't know. Mr. Francis, do you want to go?
No, you can go ahead. It's fine. You're in the HR,
right.
so you're able to provide a more targeted response on this.
All right.
All right. That's fine, right? So the truth is that CV and resume is just that one is brief, the other is more elaborate, right? So don't let us complicate it, right? So if you're uploading your CV, if you're uploading your resume, whichever one you're uploading, just what I said, make it the traditional one. Okay, don't do iconic CVs. Don't do graphical CVs. Don't do whatever you're doing. Just make sure it's very, very simple. Make sure it's text driven. Make sure it passes the ATS format. Okay. And somebody might want to ask, how do I know if my resume or my CV, passes the ATS format? Copy your, what's it called now? Copy your CV, or you can attach your CV. You can paste it on ChatGPT. It's going to give you your ATS score. All right. There are also certain sites that enables you to upload your CV and you're able to see your CV ATS score. So I used to draft CV for people. I used to draft resume for people even outside of the country. And part of the things I look at is what's their ATS, what's the ATS score, right? Because for each of the CV, there's an ATS score that is attached to it. So you can improve on it by uploading it. You can make adjustments. You can do whatever correction that you need to do. The major thing is that make sure it is text driven. There are no graphics, there are no icons, there's nothing. Just make it traditional, make it as simple as possible. Preferably, I think somebody also posted that, can I make use of Canva? No, you can't make use of Canva. Okay, because Canva is more text, is more image driven. Okay, make use of Microsoft Word. Right, and if you don't have access to Microsoft Word, you can make use of WPS, right? You can also make use of Google Doc. Yeah, that works. Yes.
Thank you so much, Mr. EBIETOMIYE. I'm also looking in the Q&A. So you already answered Mr. Promise, who asked about using Canva. Liberty Idowu asked, if you were advising someone finishing NYSC this December, what would be the smartest move to secure a GT role in 2026? I will post it in the chat so that you can read. If you were advising someone, yeah.
Okay. All right. So so the truth is that in the banking industry, or let me say generically in the finance industry, more like there's a time of admission when you get into school, right? There's usually a time of admission when you get into school. The truth is that there is also a time when the several banks, they roll out applications. So the moment you get into the last quarter of the year, okay, you start seeing applications everywhere, right? So I was speaking with somebody. I said, if you want to get into the banking industry, 2026, the truth is that you have already done everything you need to do this year. So you are getting into the banking industry in 2026 in January. Because the truth is, you've done your first level test, you've also probably done your interview. So from September, you start seeing banks, you start seeing insurance companies, they start rolling out their GT programs from September. The only bank that runs or that rolls out their what's it called now? Their GT programs more than once are big banks like the Fugas, right? The Fugas are First Bank, UBA, Access Bank. You won't find Zenith Bank graduate training, and I'm going to tell you why. First Bank, Access, UBA. You're also rarely going to find GT Bank graduate training. I'm also going to tell you why. Yeah, so those are like some of the banks that you see, they roll it like 2 times in a year, or sometimes 3 times in a year. And the reason is because they have that capacity. Okay, they have the capacity to be able to take in more people. And the reason is very simple. People are leaving Nigeria. And let me shock you. The truth is that many people do not know this, but if you come into the banking industry, if you come into our head offices, the truth is the head offices of many banks is almost empty. You guys might not know. We need people. They are jobs, and that's the truth. People are, it's just the only difference is that what people in the banking they are looking for. They are looking for people that they can train, one, or they are looking for people that already have certain skill sets. But we need a lot of people. All right. So that's what I'm going to say. So for certain banks, like let me give you certain banks that you're not going to find your graduate training online. You're not going to find Providence Bank graduate training online. You're not going to find Globus Bank graduate training online. You're not going to find um, which of this bank now? Most of these new generation banks, you're not going to find their graduate training online. And the reason is because this bank, they operate a model, and their model for recruitment is referral. Okay? Their model for recruitment is referral. 1, 2. Some of them, what they do is that, let me give you a very practical example. How I got my first job in Glo was that I sent a mail to Glo HR. I can literally, many of you do not know the HR offices of some of these organizations. I can tell you where to find them. Glo HR is situated in Sakatunumbu. So if you go to Sakatunumbu, there is a building, it's a white building, Sakatunumbu. If you go there and you drop your CV, right? Many of my friends, that's how they got their first job in Glo. All right, sorry that I had to debate, but that's how they got their first job in Glo. They just went there and then to drop their CVs. You see, there are other banks also like that. That just some other banks they do walk-in interviews. You see, the truth is that you just need to know how to play your cards. For the ones that you are not going to find, you're not going to find their graduate training link online. It's most likely going to come through referrals. And if you do not have an internal person that is going to refer you, part of the things that you can do is you can have, you can be confident enough to go and pick up their HR email addresses. Okay, you can be confident enough to pick up their HR email addresses, and you need to. You don't. Francis was saying it right that he sends emails to some hiring managers and then to HR. You don't need to sound as simple as every other person to say, "Dear HR, my name is this. I graduated from this, and I studied the value." No, you don't have to sound like that. The most important thing is you need to allow your the person that is reading your email to be captivated, to be hooked. Let me use that word, to be hooked. So you can use a very funny. It doesn't have to be serious. Okay, you can use a subject as, "I'm the guy you need in your team," right? And then they're like, "Okay, who is this guy that we need in our team?" Then they go through the things that you have to say at the bottom, right? They're interested, you see. So if you have certain skill sets and HR looks at it and they're like, "Oh, this guy has certain skill set, let's invite him for an interview." Those are for banks that do not push out their GT links online. So you could do that for Providence Bank, you could do that for Globus Bank, you could do that for Unity Bank, you could do that for there's several of those banks again. Optimus, yeah, you do that for Optimus Bank, but for other banks that push out their GT, yes, you can do that for Fidelity Bank too, right? For other banks that pushing that push out their graduate training links, you have to go through the graduate training link, for you to now to become a successful candidate, in the system. And then lastly, I want to say that many people are scared of getting into the banking industry because they feel like the moment you get into the banking industry, they'll send them to sales. Let me say this. Francis had said you should explore, all right? The truth is, in the banking industry, one of the places that you can, or one of the opportunities, or one of the job that can make you to become an MD is sales. You can't become an MD if you're an HR person. You can't become an executive director if you're an HR person. You most likely need to have a sales background. So if you want to grow fast in career in the banking industry, you want to get to the peak of a career in banking industry, you need to come into sales. And sales is not as hard as people paint it. Okay? It's not as bad or it's not as hard as people paint it. If you come into graduate trainee for Access Bank, for example, and you're given a role in sales like corporate banking or corporate and commercial or energy banking, the truth is that they might not even require you to do anything. What they need you to do is to manage the certain kinds of accounts that are already domiciled in the bank. So what they call them is relationship officers. What you're doing is that you're having a relationship with the existing clients in the bank. But many people think that they are going to tell them to go and look for 2 billion. You see, it's not always the case. So you need to have an open mind. You need to, relax yourself. And if you see, for example, Fidelity Bank is rolling out an application for sales team. You can apply. They just rolled it out, and it's obviously going to upload very soon. So you can apply. It's not that deep. I think I've answered that question.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ayo. Thank you very much. The final questions I think have already been answered. Ifeoluwa was asking if there are any pre-NYSC internship at KPMG and other Big Four. Mr. Francis mentioned that, giving an example of someone who had one. And Temitope was also asking what graduate training programs really entails, if the must have completed NYSC stops me from applying. And remember, Mr. Francis gave an illustration of someone who got a job during NYSC. With this, I would say we have come to the end of our panel session. Thank you so much, Mr. Ayomide, Mr. EBIETOMIYE. It's Mr. Ayomide, Mr. Francis. It's been so amazing to have you for all the insights. Participants, please, can we give it up for them? Can we see some reactions for them? This has been so insightful. Thank you so much. Indeed, we saved the best for last. Thank you so much, Mr. EBIETOMIYE and Mr. Francis.